Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at NDN TV Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button and be the first to get notifications.
The judiciary is, as stipulated in the Constitution, an independent arm of government. And for anybody to cast aspersions on the judiciary, I will forever disagree with such person. And what I always say is anybody who has an allegation against the judiciary is not one person, no. Particularly against any judge of the High Court, of the Supreme Court, of the Court of Appeal, or the Supreme Court, even a magistrate that is sitting over what is not a superior court of record, the customary court judges, anybody who has an allegation against an adjudicator of the caliber of superior court judge, judges of the high courts, justices of the Court of Appeal, justices of the Supreme Court, should make that allegation in writing and forward the particulars of that allegation to the National Judicial Council, which is the council that has the authority and power to deal with allegations of wrongful conduct, wrongdoing by a judicial officer. I did hear the issue about somebody pretending to sleep. That is a speech in parables. What is they know what to do? The judiciary's role and function is to adjudicate between contending parties and to deliver judgment in accordance with law, to administer justice in one simple sentence. So anybody who feels that the judiciary is not living up to that role and function should produce the facts and figures. And we of the Bar Association will take it up. Even if the National Judicial Council or any head of courts to whom short complaint has reached has refused to take it up. So I don't agree. The judiciary is doing its level best to administer justice in accordance with law in this country. And any statement that they are not living up to expectation, make that allegation against a particular judge or justice, not against the judiciary. If you look at the judiciary, we have the Supreme Court, we have the Court of Appeal in at least 15 divisions around the country. We have high courts of states. For each state, there is a high court of the state. We have the Federal High Court, which has divisions in at least 20 states in Nigeria. So I don't see any reason for such an allegation to be made if it was made by the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The judiciary is performing its role and function. I think I just cited to you the culmination of all these problems. A judgment delivered by the Supreme Court. Go and present budgets to the House of Assembly that is led by Martin MAMODE. We have nullified the so-called local government elections held last October. Indeed, I spoke about that myself to the press and advised everybody that once there's a court order, a court judgment, you must obey. And no lawyer should be castigated for advising the compliance and obedience of court orders. So I don't agree with that statement. I don't agree. The judiciary is performing its role and functions, and all these allegations again are unfounded, because if they had any foundation, reports should go to the appropriate quarters. Anybody who has facts and figures showing that judgment was bought from any court or judge should produce the facts and figures for all of us to see and understand why the person should make such a statement. Listen, I'm a lawyer, and we have in our practice heard that there are some corrupt magistrates, there are some corrupt judges. And a few, as you mentioned earlier, I was a member of the National Judicial Council for 4 years. I did 2 terms as a member of the National Judicial Council from 2012 to 2016, 2 years, term each. And I know that a few judges were brought before the National Judicial Council for wrongdoing, inappropriate conduct. And some of them were exonerated, some were found culpable, and they were removed as judges. So for anybody to say, oh, the judiciary is compromised and judgment is for sale, please bring the judgment that was sold. Who bought it? Who sold it? And what was the amount of the transaction? So these are irresponsible statements as far as I'm concerned. I do not think that the public, contrary to what you have said, has lost confidence in the judiciary. I've just given you an array of the kind of courts we have in this country. Each state has a high court. The federation has its own high courts, sitting all around the country. Court of Appeal has its divisions. Supreme Court now sits only in Abuja. There was a time when the Supreme Court used to sit in circuit. They would come to Port Harcourt and do some Supreme Court cases. They would go to Lagos and do some Supreme Court cases. On a daily basis, people are still filing cases in courts and going to argue their cases in courts. Nobody should lose confidence in the judiciary. Because as all of us say, and they, when they win their cases, they say, the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. When they lose their cases, they say, somebody has bought the judgment. That is what we see on a daily basis. Because we are closest to the litigants. The litigants only appear in court, and that's the only time the judges see them. But you hear all kinds of things. We even hear sometimes that some lawyers collect money from both the plaintiff and the defendant, the two sides. Whether it is true or false, only a report of such wrongdoing can establish that. So the public should never lose confidence in the judiciary. That is the institution established by a constitution to adjudicate between disputing parties. And when you get a judgment, please, what you do if you don't feel satisfied with a judgment is go and appeal. And the last court of appeal is the Supreme Court. After that, you can only appeal to God, who will give you judgment in the hereafter. Or maybe now, because we know that God is omnipotent. Wherever God is, he can do whatever he wants to do. He sees everything. And he's all powerful. So please, 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 I appeal to every Nigerian to have confidence in the judiciary. That is the institution established for determination of disputes. Those who will win will say, judiciary is the last hope of the common man. Those who will lose, they say, they bought the judgment. Two parties in one case. One is jubilating that the judiciary did well. The other is lamenting that the judiciary did not do well. It's a human factor. Human factor. We are bad losers. We are bad losers. Everybody who goes to court, no matter the merits of his or her case, will insist that they want judgment. But the judiciary sits there as an impartial arbiter. And that is what it is supposed to be. Even we as lawyers, we take sides. I have the party I'm representing. The other party has a lawyer representing him or her. At the end of the day, we expect judgment for our client. But when we don't get it, we say the court pleases. And we bow in submission to that judgment. Then you go back to your office and say, my client is not dissatisfied. Then you appeal to the next higher court. The next higher court gives judgment. If you disagree, go to the next higher court, which is the last court, the Supreme Court. So people should have confidence in the judiciary. And I urge the judges to deliver their judgments, to give confidence to people that the judgment was based on the merits of the case. We used to hear of statements like timid and timorous souls who are appointed as judges. That is to say, these are people who don't have the courage to keep to the oath of office they swore. to administer justice without fear or favor, without affection or ill will, and in accordance with the Constitution and laws of Nigeria. No lawyer, as far as I'm concerned, can intimidate a judge. If I was a judge, no lawyer can intimidate me. And sometimes I've actually acted as an arbiter, because I've done some arbitrations in my life, and I've sat to judge between A and B, who are the parties to the arbitration. And I deliver my judgment or my award, as they call the judgment of an arbitration tribunal. I deliver my award based on the facts and the law as I know it. Anybody who does not like can take it higher, because there are grounds upon which to challenge an arbitration award. So the categories of seeking justice and administering justice are never closed. You follow? That is why I say people should have confidence in the courts. And when a judgment is delivered and that is the final judgment, accept it in good faith. You cannot win all the time. You understand me? Somebody must be a winner, somebody must be a loser in any dispute. Especially disputes that are litigations, because you have to produce evidence to prove your case. And if you don't prove your case, nobody will give you judgments. And if somebody proves his case and he's gotten judgment, don't go and say, oh, the judge was corrupt. The judgment was bought. Sacrilege. Sacrilege as far as I'm concerned.
Inside the Niger Delta,